Hello everybody, this is my video number 9. So, as you can see, my native language is French, therefore I will try to speak the best English I can. And something else, I have to follow a text so that I don't forget important details. And in this way I should make a better fluid video. And for those who find my video without going through my website, let me introduce myself. My name as a self-taught and multidisciplinary scientist is Gilles Lauzon Urtubise, and I am the owner of the First Human Multi-Intelligence.com site. You know the title of my video is Gravitational Collapse Doesn't Exist. As far as I am concerned, I would like to underline the immense effort that have been made by several scientists so far to try to explain the gravitational collapse. But unfortunately, I am constrained by the result of my 5 years and 8 months as a self-taught in deep study, in deep investigation, very deep analysis of the functioning of the universe works on a macroscopic scale, as well as the partial functioning of the universe on an atomic and subatomic scale, and about my inventive abilities of all kinds and without limits, and the formation of between 50 and 100 or more theories in macroscopic astrophysics and other theory at the atomic and subatomic particle scale, which fall into my imposing mother theory, which explain all or almost which explain all or most of the workings of the universe on a macroscopic scale, and partially from the functioning of the universe on an atomic and or subatomic scale, to totally reject the existence of gravitational collapse for a multitude of logical and physical reasons. According to sources that relate to the subject gravitational collapse on French Wikipedia, which I just translate the French document the best as I can with a pretty good translator, I think. It occurs when all the pressure forces can no longer compensate for this attraction and maintain a balance. Then the star collapses on itself. Gravitational collapse is one of the stages in the evolution of stars, but at the beginning and towards the end of their life. It is indeed by gravitational collapse of a mass of gas that stars are formed. So which is, all of these is false, but I keep continue. At the end of its life, when all sources of energy have been exhausted, the star collapses to become a compact object, that is to say, a white dwarf, whose pressure of electronic degeneration compensates for gravity. A neutron star whose neutron degeneration pressure compensates for gravity. A black hole, but the internal physics of which was unknown, and during the collapse that leads to a white dwarf, and which contract the earth of the star, the outer layers of it are expelled and form a planetary nebula, which is totally false too. So, but I keep continue. Then, however, this concept of gravitational collapse does not exist for a multitude of reasons, but at this time and for a reason of protecting my patent for an extraordinary spaceship, I cannot disclose only the following 8 reasons. Yes, because after my paper patent was filing for my extraordinary spaceship, I will right away publish all of my mother theory. And why this spaceship it's extraordinary? It's because it's the only one that can bring a crew of 6 astronauts or plus between Earth and March, or between Earth and Ceres, which is much further away, or between Earth and one of the asteroid of the main belt, and maybe between Earth and one of the moon or the satellite of Jupiter, but which is after the first trip, the first other trips, which is closer than us then. Okay, so reason 1, this concept of gravitational collapse assumes the following: when all the pressure force can no longer compensate for this attraction and maintain a balance, the star collapses on itself. However, the first part of the sentence is contradictory, because she is asserting one thing, which is when all squeezing forces, which means or imply that all the force of pressure, therefore a force or forces of pressure attractive in the direction of the center of the star, and an opposing and repulsive force or forces of pressure which are in direction opposite to the center, and which come from a single star and therefore from a single source, and therefore which are necessarily of equal power because they come from the same source. So how different forces of pressure could be different if they came all from the same sources? Doesn't make sense. So, and at first, and this is the first proof in itself of a total incomprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale, and of the mode of functioning of the atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist. And I prove it from A to Z in my imposing mother theory of how the universe works on a macroscopic scale and how atoms works. This is the first reason why I completely reject gravitational collapse. Second, in the rest of the first sentence, which is can no longer compensate for this attraction and maintain a balance, the star collapses on itself. This part, the sentence is contradictory to the first part of the sentence, because it asserts that the force or the forces of repulsive pressure from the center of the star can no longer contain the forces or the force or the forces of attractive pressure through to no physical justification and leading to gravitational collapse through accommodating magical thoughts. So that's why I reject, because all the theories I made, they are made with all physical cause to physical effect and nothing else. So I cannot accept magical thoughts and any kind of those. So a second proof. So this is a second proof in itself of a total incomprehension, or no comprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale, and of the mode of operating of atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse does not exist. And this is a second reason why I completely reject this gravitational collapse. Third, apparently, this concept of gravitational collapse is one of the stages in the evolution of stars, but at beginning and towards at the end of their life. However, a concept gravitational collapse that can be used for the birth and for the end of a star's life. It is doubtful and difficult to defend logically, and a form of illogicality, because at best it can be applicable to the birth or to the end of a star life, but not to both phenomena. And unfortunately, I reject completely it in both cases. And a third proof in itself of a total incomprehension or no comprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale, and of the mode of operating of atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist. And the third reason why I reject completely the gravitational collapse. 4. In the sentence, it is indeed by gravitational collapse of a mass of gas that the stars are formed. Sorry, it is fortunately totally false, because even there are gas clouds in the universe, not all types of stars in the universe are formed from a cloud of gas, but by something else than I can explain from A to Z. And this is a fourth proof in itself of a total incomprehension or no comprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale, and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist, and prove it from A to Z in my imposing model theory of how the universe works on a macroscopic scale, and of the mode of operation of the atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale. And this is a fourth reason why I reject completely gravitational collapse. Fifth, in the sentence, at the end of its life, when all sources of energy have been exhausted, the star collapsed to become a compact object. So, how it is possible for a star to collapse if all its energy have been exhausted? Doesn't make sense. If the star have been exhausted all energy, well, doesn't make sense to collapse and in the gravitational way. That doesn't make sense. So it isn't, unfortunately, totally false and symptomatic of magical thought, simplistic and accommodating. And a fifth proof in itself of a total incomprehension, of no comprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale and the atom at the atomic and or subatomic scale. In addition, if all sources of energy have been exhausted, it becomes logically inconceivable that there can remain any form of, so it becomes logically inconceivable that there can remain any form of energy that can produce a gravitational collapse. So this sentence is contradictory, and you have to be confused, not to able to see it on your own. And it proved it from A to Z in my modern theory of how the way the universe works on a macroscopic scale and the atom on the atomic and subatomic scale. And this is a fifth reason why I completely reject the gravitational collapse. Sixth, in the sentence, the star collapsed to become a white dwarf. The pressure of electronic generation of which compensate for gravity. Well, this is wrong too. Doesn't make sense. I have a lot of theory that explain from A to Z the way the whole type of star they form themselves, how they born and how they form themselves. So it is unfortunately totally false and symptomatic of a simplic and accommodating magical thoughts. And sixth proof on it in itself of a total incomprehension or no comprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale and the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist. In addition, the origin of white dwarf, it's completely different, and I prove it from A to Z in my imposing modern theory of the functioning of the universe works on a macroscopic scale and the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic scale and or subatomic versus gravitational collapse, which does not exist. And this is the sixth reason why I completely reject the gravitational collapse. 7. In the sentence, the star collapsed to become a neutron star whose pressure of neutron generation compensated for gravity. This is the same than the white dwarf. It is unfortunately totally false and symptomatic of simplistic and accommodating magical thoughts. And a sixth proof in itself of a total incomprehension or no comprehension of the functioning of the universe work on a macroscopic scale and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist. In addition, the origin of neutron stars is completely different, and I prove it from A to Z in my imposing modern theory of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic scale or subatomic in relation of gravitational collapse, which does not exist. And this is a 7 proof. Then I have to reject completely the gravitational collapse. 8. In the sentence, the star collapsed to become a black hole, the internal physics of which remain not unknown. And of course, I know that nobody they know the black hole, but me, I know pretty good of them, so I can explain how they born, how they can form himself, and until they die. So that's why it is unfortunately totally false and symptomatic of simplistic and accommodating magical thoughts. And 8 proof in itself of a total incomprehension of the functioning of the universe at the macroscopic scale and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic and or subatomic scale in relation to the gravitational collapse, which does not exist. In addition, the origin of the black hole is completely different, and it's proved from A to Z in my imposing modern theory of how the functioning of the universe works on a macroscopic scale and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic scale and or subatomic scale versus gravitational collapse, which does not exist. And this is the 8th reason why I completely reject gravitational collapse. And the other hands, yes, so why the gravitational collapse does not exist, and I have much more reason then I can explain why the gravitational collapse doesn't exist, but I'm going to publish them after my patent was filing in all the countries in the world which they need to be filing. So on the other hand, believing in these type of simplistic and accommodating magical thoughts, concept, or theories are all stark evidence of a complete misunderstanding of how the universe works on a macroscopic scale and the mode of operation of atoms and or at the atomic scale and or subatomic scale. Besides, I am not here to discredit the works of all scientists, but it is my duty to discredit all of this work which is at odds with one of my theories, of my imposing modern theory of the universe works on a macroscopic scale, and of the mode of operation of atoms at the atomic scale and or subatomic scale. In addition, through my self-taught study in astrophysics of 5 years and 8 months to successfully decode the functioning of the universe on a macroscopic scale, there is no mystery that I cannot fail it to decode or solve. And if there any mystery to be discovered that I have yet to meet, I sincerely doubt that any mystery of the universe can withstand my very high intellectual power in investigation, in deep reflection, in pretty deep analysis, and about all of my immense capacity of inventing all kind of ideas or theory or whatever, of new things of all kinds, and amongst other intellectual capacity which is too long to list them. because so far I have always managed to decode or solve all the mystery that I have encountered, or at least provide at least a satisfactory explanation or more than one. And all of my theories that go into my mother theories of the universe of the macroscopic scale and about the mode of the atoms, at the mode of the operation at the atomic or subatomic scale, there's are none of them that can be called a theory of one or more accommodating magical thought, because all of my theory are based on one or more relationship of physical cause to physical effect and nothing else. And furthermore, I am the first to succeed in producing somewhere between 50 and 100 or more new theories, and should be much more, in astrophysics to form my imposing mother theory. On the other hand, if it's happened in the near future that I come to realize that one of my theory is no longer acceptable, I will change it right away. But it is impossible that any of my theories could be completely wrong. Well, it's impossible. But in the worst case, the only thing I should have to do is just a slight modification to it. Just something small. And that's it. And that's it. Then, well, thank you for viewing my video, and welcome to my next video, which will reveal my opinion on another subject in the universe. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.